Hello, my name's Carissa Lowe. Today we're going to be talking about lots of little projects, some fun patterns, and a giveaway. So come on in, let's get started. Hello, fiber friends. Welcome to my podcast. I am the owner of Sweet Mountain Crafts, and today we're going to be talking about lots of fun little projects and things that I've got going on. As you can see, we are in a different environment. For those of you that have seen my podcast before, this is a little bit different setup than what's my typical. So hopefully this works well today. It's always interesting trying to record in a new location because you never know exactly how things are going to go. But we'll do our best. So welcome back, any returning viewers. Thanks for joining me today. And for anyone that's new here, welcome. And I hope you find something that you love and are inspired by today. Let's start with what am I wearing? Today I'm wearing the Wave Break. This is a pattern by Kiri Fitzgerald. It came in a knit crate. So the yarn, I don't honestly remember the yarn. This has been something that I knit a while ago, probably about 6 years or so ago now. So I apologize, I do not know the name on this pattern, or the name for this yarn, but the pattern is Wave Break, and it is available online, and I'll be sure with this pattern and every other pattern that I mention, or any of the items, the products that I mention, I'll be sure to put links in the show notes below, so be sure to check those out. This pattern's a fun one. It's a very asymmetrical shawl, and does kind of a funny thing with that change there in the lace. But I enjoy wearing it, as you just saw, wrapped around my neck. I'm going to take it off for now because it is a little bit warm. It's definitely a good woolly one to throw on a cold morning. As I said, we're recording this podcast in a new location. This is my shop that I own. This is my brick and mortar shop, Wyoming Yarn and Fiber. It is closed at the moment, but we'll be opening up shortly, so I'm going to do what I can to record some now. I'll probably have to finish recording this podcast later. But if you hear background noises, I sit right next to a highway. My shop sits right next to a highway, so I'm sure you can hear traffic driving by. And then I also have heaters that kick on and off, and sometimes the heaters can be a little loud as well. So don't mind the background noise. Hopefully it's not too much as I'm recording the podcast. We'll see how this goes. As we're sitting in the shop, one of the things that I've been having lots of fun doing is working on knitting and getting ready shop samples. So I personally have been doing some shop samples of various yarns, using various yarns. And then I also put out a call not too long ago for some sample knitters to work with Sweet Mountain Crafts yarn, so to work with my own hand-dyed yarn. So I wanted to take a moment to say thank you to those of you that have taken up that charge of doing some sample knitting for me. I've already got back some of my samples, so I wanted to be sure to show those off today because they're lots of fun. So the first sample that I wanted to be sure to share with you guys was knit using my Strength sock set. This is on my Scree superwash, 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon base. This is a 4-ply sock yarn, and it's just a great hard-wearing yarn. I really love these sock sets, but I made sure to send out a sample, or some of that, to get sample knit up. And here I have a pair of socks knit by Tabitha. I don't honestly know if these were using a pattern specifically. I might, if I find that information out, I'll be sure to put it in the show notes. But it's always fun to see the yarn knit up. So here it is in the skein. Here it is knit. I love how this sock set in particular, both socks ended up with a spot of color, and this is really fun, in the same place. So right there, you can see that little spot of color. And then on this sock, it does the same. So just that little pop of color from when I was doing my speckling or dyeing. It's just kind of fun that it landed in the same spot on each of the socks. So Tabitha, thank you so much. These are great, and I look forward to hanging them up in the shop to be able to show off this yarn. I think this yarn just makes a really nice neutral pair of socks. It's neutral, and yet because it's got the change and the variation in the color, it's not boring to knit, because sometimes getting into those neutrals, they can be a little dull and boring. So this one makes it more fun, especially if you're working on socks, say for a a special guy in your life. The next sock set that I have here, this is my palette sock set. This was a super fun dye to do. I loved putting the colors on this yarn, and I love how it turned out. And I definitely wanted to get a sample of this done right away and sooner than I was going to be able to get to it. So Michelle knit up at my request a version of my 307 shawl. So this is the knit version of a shawl that I designed for Wyoming Yarn and Fiber. Again, that link will be in the show notes below. But this is palette knit up. Look at this. Isn't this so much fun? It starts here, it's dark, and then it starts to gradate out into a lighter variation of the yarn. Then the pattern itself uses the mini to create kind of a lace section in the pattern. And actually, I'm holding this backwards. Let's hold it this way. It shows the definition a little better. But here, so the yarn, I love how the palette yarn gets lighter in the middle, and then as you go out, it gets dark again. So it has just this really cool ombre effect to it. It turned out very pretty. This shawl is more of a shawlette. It's a short shawl, but it is meant to be worn kind of kerchief style, like I tend to wear my shawls. I like my shawls this style, and I think it's because I tend to wear them under a winter coat. So I'll throw this on, put my coat on, and then I head out the door. And it just gives that little extra layer of warmth. Kind of like wearing a scarf, but, and even with a scarf, I tend to wrap that around my neck twice, just to have something up around my neck to keep my neck warm when I'm out. So I love how this turned out. Thank you, Michelle, for your help with this project. All right, those are the samples of my own Sweet Mountain Crafts hand-dyed yarn that I have. Oh, nope, there's one more that I have. This was the Why Wait cowl by Susan Ashcroft. It's just super fun, super fast cowl. This one happens to be knit in my Peak super bulky, 100% superwash merino yarn. So let me put this on for you. It is a very quick knit because of it being the super bulky, but it is so cozy warm. It's perfect for throwing up over my face and nose if it's freezing outside, but it's just a super warm, nice and easy project. So this is knit in my Peak super bulky, as I said. This yarn, the colorway that I chose to use is Clark, and this is, as I said, a 100% merino. It is a Peruvian yarn. These are the only skeins in my shop that I carry in 150 grams, because just 100 grams of it wouldn't be quite enough. But this one is 90 yards in 150 grams. So it just used one skein to make this cowl, and it didn't even use a full skein, honestly. I compare this to Rasta, so for anyone that's used Malabrigo Rasta, this is comparable to that. I grabbed a couple others of those colors just to show them off while I'm here wearing this big fun cowl. So this one is my Mount colorway, also on Peak. That one would be pretty knit up as a cowl as well. And then this one is Christmas is Coming. So my Christmas is Coming colorway is something that I've done on other yarn weights, but this is the first time that I've done it on the super bulky. These super bulky will be listed in my shop by this weekend, so I don't have them in the shop just yet, but I will by this weekend. One more, woohoo, I made it, that I want to go or take a peek at before we move away from the Peak yarn is this fun guy. Let me grab him. Look at this guy. Isn't he so cute? I love how he turned out. He is knit, well, actually crocheted. He's my own, I should say, first of all, he's my own design. This is, I just put him together. I was in a hurry. I wanted to make some fun gnomes for the shop, so I got this one done first. I have some other getting worked on at the moment, but so I crocheted his body. You can see I crocheted just a circle on the bottom, extended out until I felt like I was done. and then crocheted, just going straight up with single crochets. And then for his arms, I just made something up to do a single crochet around for his arms. Then his mittens are knit. So this is my Peak Super Bulky in the colorway Lamb's Ear. And then this is Peak. This one is actually knit. The hat is knit, but I turned it inside out. So it's reverse stockinette for his hat. And this is using my Sunset colorway, which unfortunately I don't have any more of at the moment. If I get a chance, maybe I'll try to get some more of this in the dye pot, but I really loved kind of the woodland look of these two put together. The greens that are in the Sunset colorway just accentuate the green of his body. And then for his hands, I used some Barrett Wool Co. yarn that I had left over, just some scraps, because again, the color of this blue just went so nicely with the hat. So for his mittens, again, I just made it up, kind of based off of a regular mitten pattern, but just in miniature. And then for his beard, I took roving. This is probably just a superwash merino roving that I took and I crocheted in loops. And then his nose is just a little wooden bead. So isn't he cute? He doesn't have a name. I should come up with a name for him, but he's kind of my fall gnome for the shop. So I had fun stuffing him as well and making his hat a little bit wonky. I didn't want it to be just a complete cone. I wanted it to be a little bit irregular. So that's fun. His body, this just is a little convenient tip for anyone. I took a plastic planting container like that you would buy whatever starts in the springtime, whatever seedlings or whatever, just a round one. So it's that big around. That's what makes up the majority of his body. So you can hear it cracking in there, but it just gives it a form to be able to sit on. And then I wrapped that actually with bubble wrap because that's what I had available. So I wrapped that in bubble wrap. And then in his hat, I used cones for winding yarn. So I took one of those empty cones and wrapped it with bubble wrap to create kind of structure for his head. Isn't he so fun? I love how he turned out. Another woohoo, I made it, is this other great cowl. This is not with my own yarn. This is Juniper Moon's Harriet Great. So Juniper Moon Farm, excuse me, Harriet Great. This is their 100% baby alpaca. So you can imagine it is so squishy soft. And it made this, I used a pattern booklet that comes from the company itself. So this is the Merrily cowl. One thing I'll say about this is you can see that my design here is different than the cowl featured on the cover because this is more of a recipe booklet. I'm just going to show the inside of this really quick. This is a paid for pattern, so I don't want to give away too much. But you can see just really quick that there are 4 different pattern options or designing options. These are all slip stitch patterns, so it makes for a really easy color work look without having done true stranded color work. Although there are still strands throughout as you're doing your slip stitches. There's sections where you kind of have to carry the yarn. So you can see that there's some floats. But it was a really fun cowl to work up. Again, this is a shop sample. So more than anything, it was an opportunity to get this yarn worked up and out on the floor. But it's a little bit looser than most cowls that I like to wear. I like to have my cowls up around my neck, as you can imagine from what I've already shown you. So this is a little bit looser, but it's so soft. And I think actually, one time I put this on, I think what I would tend to do is maybe style it more like this if I was wearing this under a jacket or needing to stay warm with it. So just kind of flip it over. It would even look cute with a shawl pin there, I suppose, to kind of hold it that way. But it's comfy, cozy, and alpaca. I find lots of people are admittable to having alpaca next to their skin, next to their face, when they're not super excited about certain wools next to their face. My next woohoo, I made it, is so close to being done. All I have left to do with this sweater is blocking. Here is my Rena sweater, or Rena. I'm not sure if it's Rena or Rena, but here it is. Isn't it cute? I will get better photos of this once I get it blocked, and then this will also be a shop sample, so this will be going on the mannequin here soon. I did make it to fit me because while it's a shop sample and I won't have it in my wardrobe soon or right away, I do eventually hope to wear this. So it's crocheted granny squares, and I followed the pattern exactly as it's suggested for the crocheted part, the granny square part. Then you take the granny squares and you put them together. You join them together in this diagonal grid fashion. And then on the sides, you start to crochet. You have to pick up a number of stitches and you crochet to join. You crochet rows here along the edges to join, and then seam it here under the arm and at the shoulder and here at the top of the sleeve. Then once you get all that done, then you pick up stitches at the neck and on the cuff and on the waistband, and you knit. So this is a knit and crochet project, and I apologize, it has mohair and I feel like it's getting all over me, but this is knit using Barocco Tiramisu in the colorway Torone, or Torone, and I really like how this turned out. And with the mohair, so this is the tiramisu is like a yarn held double. I believe I talked about that on my last podcast, but it is a single strand, or a strand of single ply held together excuse me, held together with a mohair strand. And with that mohair in there, it makes this sweater so incredibly warm. So even though it is a granny square, which granny squares always have that space in there, it's amazing how warm this is when I have it on. But I love how it worked out. The only thing that I would say is that I did the width based off of the measurements that they had. So I did the bust size that they recommended. I believe it was a medium bust size, but I typically choose patterns to be around a 36-inch bust. And I think that's what I did for this one, but when I got done with it, it was way short for my torso. Now, I know I have a longer torso, but it was amazingly short. So I had to put a lot of ribbing at the bottom to make it long enough for me. And even now, it's still a little bit shorter than I typically like in my sweaters, but it turned out so pretty that I'm not going to complain, and I will just choose to wear higher waisted pants or skirt or whatever with this top. So excited to have that done. Now, like I said, I get it blocked and get it on this shop mannequin here before long. Next, woohoo, I made it, is this. I actually have a number of portions to this, so I'll show this one that I have in person first, and then I'll show the others just with images. But I finally got the warp off my loom that I had warped up, I don't even know how long ago. It's been a while ago that I warped up that loom. I thought that I was going to warp it and have something made in time for Easter. Here we are at almost Thanksgiving, and I finally took it off my loom. But I had so much fun playing with this warp. This is the first weaving project that I've completed of any sort on my loom since I got it, the floor loom that I have. And I just chose to warp it with some of my own hand-dyed mercerized cotton. This is a Pima cotton that I use as the warp here. So the brightly colored threads running this way are my own hand-dyed. And it was actually a really great warp to work with. I did, I think, 5 yards maybe of that warp, just so that I could play. I just wanted to learn a little bit about weaving, and this is evidence of my playing. I took, and because I ran out of the first weaving I did, and I don't have that with me, but I'll put in a picture here. The first weaving that I completed on it, I used an undyed, so just the white Pima cotton as the weft. And I'm going to use that as a hand towel. I finished it off to make a hand towel, and then I have another portion of it that I'm going to use. I think I'm going to sew it into a table runner to use at home for decoration on my table. But then the next section, I ran out of the white Pima cotton, or rather I didn't want to use any more. So I decided to go ahead and try something else. Well, I happen to have a bunch of tulle on spools that I didn't really have plans for, and they happen to be in the same colors as the warp. So I decided to play around and use the tulle. So you can see here, the edges get really billowy and pillowed, but I kind of like that. So I left them intentionally a little bit longer than they needed to be, just to create that edge. And then I didn't make this super long, but again, I was just playing. So I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out. It's very, very scratchy, as you can imagine. I mean, it's tulle, so it's scratchy. But I think it's going to be a cute Easter decoration. So I decided to just finish it off like this. I just rolled or folded in the ends and sewed them to finish that off. And then this will just sit on a table somewhere, probably in my shop or my house, as kind of a springtime decoration. So I do have dog hair and a couple spots on it, but anyway, it turned out really fun. The last thing that I did with that warp is I used some t-shirt yarn, so some leftover t-shirts that I'd cut into strips. I used that to create a yarn that then I wove into my project, and that created a rag rug looking finished piece. Now, it's not big enough to be a rug in my opinion. I don't think it was a wide enough project. So what I'm going to end up doing with that, I think, is probably turning it into a bag. My biggest concern with that is that it is super thick. So by the time I get it into my sewing machine, all those layers, I'm not sure how that's going to work. So we'll see. Right now I'm just playing, and I had a lot of fun seeing what things turned out like. So yay for getting some weaving done finally. Now for my last finished object to share today, it's actually a half finished object, because I did get one of the socks completed that I had showed on my last podcast. This is my Autumn Chill colorway on my DK sock base. My camera cut out and I did not realize it until after I had finished talking about a lot of my projects. So now I get to go back. We were discussing the sock that at the time I had on a blocker, but I've since taken it off. But yes, I knit this sock using my DK sock yarn, which is an 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, DK weight yarn. I sell this yarn as a set, so it comes with a full skein and a coordinating mini. And this is 245 yards and 100 grams with the 49 yard 20 gram mini on the side. But because this sock is using so much in one sock, since it's a large men's size sock, I might have to break into a second skein. We'll see. I do have a ball of yarn here left over from knitting this sock, so I might be able to make it work, but I need to weigh this and see if I have enough for the second sock. If not, I'll break into this other skein and be able to finish these socks for my son. I'm holding all of this in a bag by Delightful Works. This is by Susan. This is her Stop and Smell the Flowers, a wildflower bag. I did wildflower sets, mini skein sets to go with this bag, and those are available in my shop. But Susan kindly sent me a bag myself, and it just happened to be nearby for me to throw my sock project into. So it's being held in this great bag by Susan. So since I showed you a finished object and where I'm starting on the work in progress on the next sock there, let's go ahead and move on to other works in progress. So here in a hand sewn by me bag, this is my sock knitting bag predominantly, is a pair of socks that I'm knitting up using my Strength colorway. Now this matches the socks in the color. It's similar to the socks that Tabitha knit for me for my shop sample, The difference is that this is a yarn base that I don't carry in the shop right now. I think I will probably be considering bringing this to the shop just because it's such a squishy, great yarn. But this is a 80% Targhee wool with 20% nylon, and it is lovely. So I'm knitting these 2 at a time on my US size 1 2.25 millimeter needle. I had talked about these just a minute ago and moved the progress keeper as I was talking about them, but I had finished, I was about here before on my last podcast, and unfortunately the recording I just did didn't save. So anyway, I have gotten another almost twice, doubled in size the length of the sock. These are Christmas knit, so I'll be working on these more here soon, although they've been kind of put on hold a little bit while I was working on projects for the shop. So, and another project that I'm going to show you right now. All right, my next work in progress is a sweater that I'm working on. This is one I've been wanting to work on for a while and finally I'm taking the time to do. This is in a bag by Bags by Awesome Granny. Isn't it a great bag with books all on the outside and then words on the inside? There's their logo there. It holds easily a sweater's quantity for myself, so I love using this bag for sweaters. I'm working on a very fun, fairly straightforward sweater knitting project. Right here you can see I've just started, this is a bottom up sweater, so I've just started the bottom kind of ribbing section down here and then the body of the sweater, which is just stockinette stitch, so it's going super fast. It's super easy in the evenings when I'm tired and don't want to think a lot. I just do stockinette around. So this is a sweater pattern by Doreen Marquardt out of her book Saturday Sweaters. This pattern book has a bunch of sweaters that are just all bottom up sweaters with a drop shoulder sleeve. So it's a fairly straightforward pattern. It's not incredibly complicated or difficult, but I'm appreciating that right now because it doesn't take a lot of thinking on my part. So I'm doing the mock turtle with a twist in the worsted weight version. You can see that there. So let's see. Yeah, it's just a simple sweater. I probably will end up making my sleeves longer. This looks more like a 3/4 length sleeve almost, but I think I'll go ahead and go all the way to the wrist with my sleeves. I'm doing the 40.5 inch finished chest measurement. As I said with my Rena sweater, I choose to work sweater patterns usually that are for a 36 inch bust. This sweater is supposed to have lots of positive ease because it's just a comfy, casual sweater, so kind of like a sweatshirt style sweater. I'm doing this using, I'm working on the US 8, size US 8 needles, which is a 5 millimeter needle. And then I'm knitting it using Juniper Moon Farms Stargazer brushed. This is the Osiris colorway. And this is a baby llama yarn. So it's 85% llama with 15% nylon. And it's so super squishy and soft. I'm enjoying working with this yarn for sure. This was some yarn that I bought and added to stash a while ago now. It's been a few years at least that this has been in my stash, and it was time to get it on needles. That's all I have for works in progress at this time. I have a couple projects in mind, so let's call these works in progress to come, right? They are things that I have intention to get done, but I haven't started yet. They are next on my list of to-dos. So on the Grizzly Knit podcast with Tracy, I'll be sure to link her podcast below, but she was showing off, she does a lot of great projects and has some fun things that she shares, but she was showing off these adorable bears that she's knitting right now that called the Scandy Bear, and they were so cute, and I just thought that would be really fun. So I had leftover yarn from knitting the Merrily cowl, and I thought they are so soft. This yarn is so soft and squishy. It would make a really adorable baby gift for a baby boy. And we have I have a cousin that's getting ready to have a baby, and so I thought it would be really fun to send a baby boy present. So I'm gonna knit the bear out of the baby blue here, and then I'll do a cowl out of the navy. These bears are just so cute. I'm looking forward to knitting this. And then I have lots of this color left over as well, and I think that'll work nicely as well as a bear. So I'll probably use one of these colors to make a cowl, and I'll make another bear too. Whether I use it as a baby gift or just an item for sitting in the shop or whatever I use it for, I just think it'd be a really fun project to knit up. So I'll get that going here soon. My last project that I have plans for are actually using some yarn that I spun last year. So I spun up these diamond rolls. If you look back on one of my podcasts, I had spun these diamond rolls. This is from Noro. It's a pencil roving that then I spun and plied. I did a chain ply with this, so there will be big blocks of color. And I did that so that I could make, or I have them in two parts here, and the thought being that I'd like to make mittens out of these. So these colors definitely make me think Christmas, holiday season, so I'm gonna make some Christmas mittens for myself. I'm holding those in, right now, just holding the yarn in my bag by I Heart You. This is an adorable little project bag that with the Christmas lights on it made me think of Christmas for sure, but also has the Stranger Things feel to it with the Christmas lights. And I'm looking forward to getting those mittens cast on soon. Probably I'm gonna do the Tin Can Knits, I forget what the name of the mitten pattern is, but it's the one that so many people have used. So I'll probably use that pattern to do these mittens. I also have this adorable stitch marker on this bag, or Progress Keeper. I got that in a swap, so I'm not really sure where it's from, but it just goes so well on the bag that it stays with this bag. That's a little bit of what I've been working on. I have also been enjoying getting some other projects done at home. So here you can see I have purchased a country spinner from Ashford. This is for production spinning, so my plan is to be able to produce some art yarns for sale, and I'm having so much fun with this. I've been blending up Frisian wool that I had received, or had purchased, excuse me, at the Fiberfest in Riverton. I've been blending that and making all kinds of bats, and then from those bats getting them prepared and put together to spin into art yarn. So I've been doing that. A lot of times that's what I end up doing on my Sunday afternoons when I have a little bit of quiet time on a Sunday afternoon. But I've been enjoying working with my new spinning wheel and getting some art yarns spun up. My hope is that I'll get those core spun hopefully in the next month or so. So they are still very much in process, but I'm enjoying that for sure. Along with that, I have also been doing a lot of dyeing. I've been in the studio a lot recently, just trying to get some pre-orders taken care of and get some things completed for customers as well as for the shop. I wanted to show off some of my braids that I've recently added to the shop. These are just, I love spinning. I don't know if everyone's into spinning for sure that watches, but I love to spin. It's so soothing and just relaxing. So I also enjoy dyeing fiber braids for spinning because I love playing with all the different colors. I know some people love the natural wools when they're spinning, but I personally enjoy the color, if you couldn't tell by the art yarns that I'm working on. But here I have Autumn Chill. So these are the same colors that you saw in those socks, but this is on a braid. These braids, this is a Polworth combed top, and it's 22 to 25 microns, which means that it's very fine fiber and it's so soft. It's lovely to spin with. It's lovely to work with. It makes a really nice yarn. It can work well, obviously, for felting and everything too, but it's just a really lovely yarn to work with. So this is one of my recently dyed fiber braids. I also have Gifts of the Magi. This is one that I love, and I actually put some of this aside for myself. It's just this very moody Christmassy color and kind of a an old-time Christmas color in my mind. But I love how these colors came out on this fiber, and I think it'd make an amazing looking yarn. If I get the opportunity, I'm hoping to maybe spin this into a fine enough yarn that I could knit a pair of socks for myself, but we'll see. I'm not usually a fine yarn spinner. I tend to spin chunky or like a DK to worsted weight yarn. So I don't know if I could get fine enough for a nice sock weight, but we'll see. I'll try. And then another fun Christmas holiday colorway that I have is this Christmas is Coming. Nope, excuse me. That's my sock yarns. Vintage Christmas. So this is just a fun traditional Christmas colors and just a great happy yarn as well for this time of year as we're getting ready to celebrate holidays. On that note, I would love to run a giveaway here on my YouTube channel. For my giveaway today, I am going to be giving away one of my Christmas minis or Christmas hankette sets from my Christmas cash kit from 2021. This was the set that was included in my Christmas cash kit last year. All of these colors were a part of that set. And while my Christmas cash kit is something that I do annually, this year's Christmas cash is something totally different. So I keep that a surprise for my customers so that they can enjoy opening it at their own convenience. But this was last year's set. These were last year's colors. I did 12 minis, and each of these are 20 grams of 100% Tarkey wool. This is a yarn that is raised in Wyoming and milled at Mountain Meadow Mill in Buffalo, Wyoming, and then dyed by me. So this is an all Wyoming product, but it is an amazing yarn. I love working with this yarn. I have a sweater myself out of some of this yarn, and it's just a great yarn to work with. So if you're interested in entering the drawing for this giveaway, please leave a comment below about your favorite baked good at this time of year. Whether it's something that you enjoy making or something you enjoy that someone else makes, leave me a comment for that. My mind is a lot on baked items right now. I love to bake pie. I love to bake bread. My daughter is my cookie baker. I don't do a lot of cookie baking, but she does a lot of cookie baking for us, and she's amazing at it. So yeah, what's your favorite baked good around the holiday season? Leave a comment below, and I will be sure to draw from those comments in my upcoming podcast, in my next podcast, I should say. So yes, be sure to enter for those. In the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope that it's a great time of year for you to spend time with family, hopefully, or dear friends maybe. I just hope that it is a blessing to you. And if you're missing someone this year, because I know that this time of year brings to mind people that we've loved and lost, I pray that for you that this would be a time of year that you can just embrace some of those amazing memories of those people in your life and just cherish those moments that you had with them. So happy Thanksgiving, and I will be back in another, hopefully, few weeks. See you again soon. Thanks for watching.